Welcome back to Cheddar Business. Boeing stock dropping 3% yesterday after delaying its guidance on the embattled 737 MAX. Look at that, the stock down another 1% today. The company yesterday said that it doesn't expect FAA approval for the return of its grounded aircraft until mid-year at the earliest. And joining us now is Chief Market Strategist Ed Moya. Look, Ed, Boeing has consistently moved back this timeline. Is this an actual trustworthy timeline that we received yesterday?
I think the new CEO is trying to send a message here. I think what happened with CEO Mullenberg, his predecessor, he said we're going to get the plane ready by the end of 2019. And that didn't happen. He got ousted. And now Calhoun is going to deliver a message where, okay, we're going to set the bar a little bit further away, but I think he must be confident that they are going to deliver, because if not, he's going to be a short-tenured CEO. I think that there is expectations that Boeing is getting closer to getting certified. I think right now the stock, you can see it's still hanging around the 300 level. I mean, they haven't sold their most profitable product line in over a year. They haven't had any shipments out. And there's going to be growing optimism that eventually this is going to get pushed through. And there is no competition. I think that when we take a look, if you're an airliner, what are you going to buy? The only competitor is Airbus's A320, and right now that's on back order till 2024. So I think right now it's like a falling knife right now, but right now there is sort of some optimism that we could be seeing the bottom shortly here for Boeing.
Yeah, a really good point. I mean, shares of Boeing down 29%, more than 29% since the company's all-time high, a little less than a year ago, but before the full implications of the MAX grounding, I think, were understood. At what point do you think we will see the bottom here?
Well, I think once we get earnings, the earnings results, and I think a couple weeks out, it's going to be all the bad news. So they're going to have to, they're constantly having to pay these airliners. They're going to have all these pre-tax charges that they're going to write off all these expenses. Some are saying maybe this is going to cost them up to $20 billion throughout the whole saga. Once we start to see the optimism that it'll get certified, and I think the whisper guess is maybe end of March we could see it happen, possibly April. I know that they just came out with this new guidance, but I think that they will be most likely trying to surprise the market with better news and not kind of have to push back that timeline again.
How does this impact, though, airliners' willingness to add the 737 MAX to their fleet, right? China, for instance, is expected to buy 8,000 planes over the course of the next decade, roughly, and Boeing already losing market share there to Airbus.
They are, but I think that you're going to still see that there is, it's just a small market right now. There's really just Airbus and Boeing. And Boeing is still, before this whole saga, they were the #1 air producer. They were the leader, and I think that if they can right this, you have airlines already committed to these planes, and you're going to still see markets expect them to come through.
We learned yesterday that Boeing is looking to raise debt to the tune of $10 billion, an incredibly large amount. I mean, we know the company does have more than $10 billion of cash and marketable securities on its balance sheet, but still raising debt. How does that change the way that you're looking at Boeing for the remainder of the year? Does that change the way, did that news change how you thought about Boeing getting the 737 MAX back to the skies, or the financial health of the company?
Yeah, it's eye-opening, and it does, draw further concern, like they need to get this rectified, because if not, they're going to have to come back 3 months later and say we're going to need more money. I think the roughly $6 billion pre-tax charge that they already took, that was for only 6 months. We're probably looking at double for a year, and if it's another 6 months, we're getting closer to $20 billion. So I think that until they have further clarity here, and it's going to be a long, drawn-out process, because it's not just one glitch. There's software concerns, there's wiring issues, and there's going to be retraining, and the training might take only a few days or so, but there's just so much that's still wrong. So it's still a very messy outlook, but I think that it is such a critical part for not just the economy, but I think you're going to see that so many suppliers are reliant on Boeing's orders, And you're going to start to see, I think, further pressure from the U.S. administration that we need to get this fixed and fast.
Have you seen any indication from consumers as to their willingness to get on one of these planes again?
I think that's a great question, because I think 6 months ago, the answer was no. Because I think people would say, I go to Expedia, I look at what's the cheapest flight. I don't really look at which aircraft it is. You're seeing a smaller growing population that's saying, like, you know what, I don't want to ride on a Boeing 737 MAX. I think when we saw the notes from some of the engineers, developers, it was really eye-opening that, like, wow, this plane does not sound safe. And I think you're starting to see a further growing consensus that there are concerns about wanting to go on that plane.
Yeah, I mean, you're not the only one to bring that up. The chief executive of the Air Lease Corp, who has hundreds of these jets, says Boeing should actually rename the aircraft and drop the MAX name. We'll see if that ends up happening. OANDA Chief Market Strategist Ed Moya, thanks for joining us on Boeing. We appreciate it.